Hey, what's good, folks? You know what it is. It's your boy Jay, and I'm back with another episode of My Thoughts Exactly. This is the program where I take three of the most interesting topics that happened over the past week and do a review of each individual topic. Now, before we get into all the topics, I would like to hit that like button. Also, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think about each segment. Let me know what you think about the whole My Thoughts Exactly podcast. Let me know what you think, because at the end of the day, without you supporting the channel, it wouldn't be no me. And without you, there wouldn't be no channel. There wouldn't be no YouTube. So thank you to everybody that support the channel and everybody that's supporting the segments. I got three topics I want to talk about this week. First of all, I want to talk about KeKe Palmer and her boyfriend Darius. They're back together. And KeKe's pregnant with her second child with Darius. And at the end of the day, I really want to talk about, why do females go back to something that they knew was wrong? Now, maybe she thought after a while, like, you know what? This is the best option for me and my family. Get back with Darius, try to make it work, and become one happy family. That's, if that's something that you think as a woman will work, go for it. But this is why I say, but don't go back on the internet when things go awry and say he's a bad person, but you went back and you went back to the problem, and then you realize, okay, it didn't work out the first time. How's it going to work out the second time? Then how's it going to work out the third time or the fourth time? Now, we're going to get to that first. The next topic we're going to talk about is Blacc Sam's interview with Big Boy TV. I watched the interview in full a couple of days ago. I really wanted to sit down and think about what I was going to say about this topic, because it really talked about his come up, him and his brother Nipsey Hussle, the late great Nipsey Hussle, their come up together. Blacc Sam talked about his career as a grinder, as a hustler, as a guy who just did everything to make a dollar. Him and his brother, and how they built all money in, everything of that nature. But there was a part of the interview that really, really struck a chord with me. And there's a small clip that I want to share about that. But we're going to get to that. He's going to talk about the demise of his brother and how he thinks that it was premeditated. He thought that this wasn't just a random act of somebody just acting mad at Nipsey Hussle. He thinks that this was something that was premeditated. And a person that people have all had their suspicions about came out online and said that they didn't have anything to do with it. But why would you have to come online and defend yourself when you know you didn't have anything to do with it? So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Andrew Tate and Candace Owens. That interview was over almost 2 hours long, and they got into a lot of topics. They got into American politics, they got into French politics, they got into the deep state, they got into so many different topics. But there was a part of that interview that I really wanted to concentrate on. This was at the beginning. I didn't want to talk about all the deep state and all the conspiracy theories, but there's something I really wanted to talk about that Andrew Tate said that really made me think, like, he may not be the crazy sociopath that everybody thinks he is. Some things that Andrew Tate may have said, I don't agree with. But there are some things that he does say that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to do my research. And same thing with Candace Owens. I went back and watched the Breakfast Club interview with Candace Owens, and I must say, I mean, they did a great job of the interview. And they didn't, usually you would think Charlamagne would fight back and talk about it, Candace, and all these things. But that interview was a great interview. Candace really explained how she became a conservative on all those different things. But the main interview that I want to talk about is with her and Andrew Tate, talking about all the deep state, talking about all those different issues. But yes, let's go ahead. Let's get it started right now. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. This is your boy, Jay, the Reactor, and I'm back here. And we're going to start with the old thing, going back to your old thing. KeKe Palmer going back with her boyfriend Darius, her baby daddy Darius. And this right here, I'm not gonna really spend a lot of time on it because at the end of the day, it's not a real serious story. But I want to talk about it because not because of what they did. I mean, they got back together. They're expecting a second child. Hey, it's a happy family. They're happy. She's happy with him. He's happy with her. It is what it is. But I want to talk about the hypocrisy with this because there's a little bit of hypocrisy with this. Because I remember when she went to see Usher and all this, and he was upset about it. And the women were like, she could dress and do whatever she want, all this and all that. And why she with him and all that. And they split up. And people were like, okay, she split up with him. He's going to take care of his kid. They going to do that. And it was a film of him hitting her or whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, they done split forever. He going to take care of his kid. She going to do what she need to do. She going to find somebody else. But hey, when you miss that old thing, you get back with that old thing. So here's an article that I want to read. And this comes from Vibe Magazine. This is from Vibe Magazine. KeKe Palmer, Darius Jackson pose with son at the zoo. And first photo says mutual abuse claims. And this was from the 14th. So this was a couple of days ago. On Monday, August the 13th, a photo surfaced online of KeKe Palmer and her ex-boyfriend, Darius Jackson, spending some time with their son, Leotis, at the zoo. The new photo shows Leo laughing with his mama while Darius can be seen smiling big for the camera. It's assumed that the family went to visit the animals as a carousel of photos of Leotis. Instagram provides more context about the outing. And the 9th and 10th slide both coincide with the post numbered caption. Includes baby Leo wearing the same shirt he wears in the flicks with his parents, also getting his face painting of a lion. You can't tell, but I loved it. I had a fun day at the zoo. I'm grateful. Hope you guys had a good weekend. The caption reads, and it's from the Shade Room, and you can see the photo. You can see Darius, you can see KeKe, and you can see Leotis in the photo. Now, the caption from the Shade Room says KeKe Palmer and Darius Dalton spending some quality time together with their baby boy, which at the end of the day, I don't really mind parents spending time with the baby and just, look like they had a happy time. You see the photos, but the photos don't appear on either KeKe or Darius' Instagram accounts because months after a judge granted the Key TV creator temporary custody of Leotis and a restraining order against Darius. Now, think about it. Let's read that again. The photo does not appear on either KeKe or Darius' Instagram accounts because months after the judge granted the Key TV creator temporary custody of her son and a restraining order against Darius. Now, hold on now. There's a restraining order against Darius, but you're spending time with them at the zoo with your son. This is kind of fishy. At the time, the 30-year-old accused him of physical and emotional abuse, which included him love bombing her and then growing distant and cold at certain times of difficulty. That's the video, the security footage, blah, blah, blah. The 29-year-old denied it all and encountered her claims with abuse allegations of his own. In the December lawsuit, Darius alleged that KeKe was the aggressor and were verbally and physically abusive. Now, first of all, why y'all both? This is my thing. And I said this is the reason why I say, she loved that old thing. And, I'm going to tell you something. Some people love drama. Some people just love drama, man. He also claimed that the Nope actress consumed alcohol frequently and would become agitated and aggressive once inebriated. To add, he even recalled a time where KeKe allegedly punched him in the face, according to Radar Online. Text messages were obtained showing KeKe apologizing for the attack. However, Darius' lawsuit and KeKe's restraining order were apparently dropped. So basically, the judge said, you know what? Y'all going back and forth with each other. I'm going to drop the lawsuit and I'm going to drop the restraining order. Now, while the family photo doesn't prove that they're indeed an item again, it does show that they're taking a step in the right direction of co-parenting. However, Darius went on a rant earlier this year about their custody battle. I feel for the dads that gave up when it was time to get custody. It's mentally and emotionally and physically draining. You lose yourself. He wrote on social media at the time, My spirit was also too strong to give up, but I totally understand. I have pondered it. I thank God for having an amazing circle. Now, this is from Neighborhood Talks. KeKe Palmer's baby daddy said their bad experience made them realize how important it is to be married before having kids. Everything leads to chaos, blah, 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 blah. But now, this doesn't really talk about this. Now, if you look at KeKe Palmer in this photo. KeKe Palmer looked like she got a little belly. She got a little belly there. Now, I'm not a detective. I'm not Inspector Gadget here, but she did say, and this is the photo. She had a little baby bump. She had a little baby bump in a recent photo. She had a little baby bump. And now she's pregnant again with Darius's baby. So they're both expecting the second child. Now, I'm going to say this right quick, and I'm going to skip this topic because honestly, it is what it is, man. KeKe Palmer, Darius, they both love chaos. They deserve each other. It is what it is. If you want to have another child in this chaotic relationship, you do you. Now, the one thing I don't want you to do is keep on going on social media so people like me can report on it. And I'm going to tell you what I told you before. You love that chaos. You deserve the chaos. There are some people out there that they just love the situation that they're in, bad or good. They're going to stay with it regardless. Some people want to stick with the situation because the situation fits them. Now, KeKe Palmer, I'm going to look at from both perspectives. If I'm Darius, if I'm the baby daddy, I'm like, nah, I ain't messing with her no more. I'm like, yo, you can find somebody better than her. Take care of your son. Take care of your child. But don't be with this woman. Because if this woman has done the same thing in the past, now she's going to do the same thing in the future. And now instead of having one child with her, you're going to have 2 kids with her. You're going to have 2 kids with this woman. Your life for the next 20 years is stuck with this woman. Now, from KeKe's perspective, why would you, if you said this man abused you and beat you and all these things, why'd you get pregnant by this dude? Why would you get pregnant again by this man? I'm just being honest. Why on God's green earth would you get pregnant by this man again? You're saying this man is a villain. You're saying this man is a hooligan. You're saying this man is just plain stupid. All the things you say about this man, and you get pregnant by him again. I mean, I'm looking at the effery, and the effery is at an all-time high with this whole situation. The effery is at an all-time high with this situation. And you know what? If I'm anybody that's associated with them, okay, let them go get counseling. But at the end of the day, Shade Room gonna report on it. Bossip gonna report on it. Neighborhood Talk, they gonna report on it. You're just giving people things to report on. You're giving people like me something to report on. And it's sad because you know who suffers in the end? The children. The children suffer. Now, if you're Darius and you're KeKe and you really want this to work, go to counseling. Go to counseling. Get some help. Get some professional help. Stop going online and throwing everything online. Go get some help. Realize that the best thing to do is to just work it out. And if you truly love each other, get married. Get married. Like, yo, you already got 2. You got a kid with her. You got another one on the way. You might as well make her your wife or whatever. But see, this is what's wrong with the Black community. See, Black community, they want to have kids first, but don't want to marry first. And that's the issue that I have. Like, I always told people, like, people ask me why I ain't got no kids, because I ain't got no wife. I ain't got no wife, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to get married and have kids. Since I have never been married, I ain't got no kids. I did the old school way. I'm not gonna be like these other people out here. Have 5 or 6 kids and a man ain't even put a ring on a finger. or be a man, you got 3, 4 different baby mothers, and you didn't make one a house, you didn't make one a wife, but you have all these kids with these women. And I see why sometimes women, especially black women, are disgusted with us as men, because if you're out here slinging your Johnson and having 4 or 5 kids by 4 or 5 different women, yo, like you looking real bad, Slim. And in the situation with KeKe Palmer and her baby daddy Darius, yo, like you already got 2 kids, y'all. You got one and one on the way. Make an honest woman out there, make an honest woman out of her. Get married, do whatever you need to do. Make sure the situation works, because I don't want to hear in the next 8 to 10 months and you done had the baby and now they ate each other's throats again. Let me know in the comments if you think this relationship is going to last, because I don't think it's going to last. Honestly, I don't think it's going to last. Now, let's get to the second story. We're going to talk about Blacc Sam and his exclusive interview with Big Boy TV. This interview came out a few days ago. It's gone viral. It has over 6 million views on YouTube. And honestly, this is probably the most in-depth I've ever heard Blacc Sam talk. When I first heard the interview, because I mean, Blacc Sam was talking segments. He did the marathon documentaries and stuff like that. But for Blacc Sam to sit there and talk like that, it was amazing. It was heartbreaking. It was heart-wrenching, because at the end of the day, it showed me how close him and his brother Nipsey was. And when you're that close to your brother and you lose your brother, you lose any relative, but if you lose a brother, you're like 3 years apart. Like when I look at Blacc Sam, I see Nipsey. It's like, yo, like these dudes are like, they're like carbon copies of each other. They even sound the same. The only difference between Nipsey's voice and Blacc Sam's voice is Blacc Sam has a deeper voice than Nipsey, but the cadence are the same. They speak the same. Everything is the same about them. The demeanor, everything. And you know where that comes from? That comes from just being so closely knit together. Like you can tell that Blacc Sam early on, he was the leader, but as things, as Nip got older and Nip got more knowledgeable about the game and hustling, he said, you know what, there's nothing wrong with letting younger bro take the reins and build something. They built an empire together. And you learn about that during this interview, because Big Boy asked the right questions and Blacc Sam was real transparent about it. And I'm going to leave a link in the description for the full interview, so you can really get a in-depth look at what and how Blacc Sam came up. But there was a segment in the interview that really caught my eye. It was towards the end of the interview. They talked about the come up. They talk about how Nip had the deal and got out the deal, and he owned his masters, and how they got the marathon, how they got Sloss and Tees and all that stuff. They developed the plan and everything in motion. Nip was on his way to not only superstardom, but worldwide fame. And it was all taken out when he was snubbed out. But there's a segment that I really want to talk about. Blacc Sam talked about how this wasn't just a random situation that somebody just came up and did it. Blacc Sam thinks, and a lot of people think, and I had my suspicions when this happened. Blacc Sam, like everybody else, thinks that this was premeditated. So let's get to that video right here. This is Blacc Sam talking about the whole Nipsey situation. It's like 30 seconds, but we're gonna talk about it.
From my understanding, old boy walked up with no shirt on first to check the scene, because he know what's going on in that parking lot, and had a conversation. Probably seen nobody was in the doorways. Checked Hussle had on shorts. Checked everybody else. Left. They say came back with a red shirt on. tiptoed through the alley and went right and started shooting. So to me, that's premeditated. Number one, there's no red shirts in the hood. You can't buy no red shirt. No liquor store sell no red shirt. Number two, when a nigga come through the alley with a red shirt, that's the throw off, or the Bloods did it, or the Inglewood families did it, or the BPS. That's the throw off, red shirt.
Now, think about what he said. Think about what he said and how he broke it down. Eric Holder, the one that was convicted on Nipsey's murder, came up to the store, surveyed the scene. They knew Nip was there. Because usually when Blacc Sam said it earlier, and you can watch it in the full video, when Nip comes to the store, Sam is always there. The homies is always there. They always got somebody with a gun at the door. They always got somebody strapped at the door when Nip is there. Because Nip is, I'm going to tell you like this. Nipsey Hussle at that point, he was like super famous. It's like super duper famous. And you had to be protective of, you know what I'm saying? People like the golden goose. Nipsey Hussle was the golden goose. Be protective of the golden goose. Blacc Sam, J Stone, Fats, all of them knew that Nipsey Hussle was the golden goose. You have to protect the golden goose at all times. Because Blacc Sam said in the interview, like, he was actually asleep. He was down the street at his grandmother's house. He was asleep because they have another store. They have a dispensary store that he had, you know, he had kept open all night and had to go home and get some sleep. Nip comes up there. He didn't know Nip was going to be at the store because usually when Nip is at the store, Blacc Sam's at the store, J Stone, somebody's at the store, somebody with protection or with a gun is at the store because Nip, you know, Nip, it is what it is. So for this guy to actually do surveillance, go back around, come back with a red shirt and shoot Nip, it's kind of suspicious. Like, first of all, and this is what made me think when he said that. First of all, how did he know? How did this individual know who this, you know, who has the gun, who has this, who has that? That means somebody on the inside had to tip him off. Had to tip Eric Holder off. Because, you know, honestly, when you think about this whole situation, it sounds suspicious. Another thing that sounds suspicious is that I remember when Wack 100 and there was another guy that always said Big U has something to do with it. Big U, for his credit, has always denied that he had anything to do with Nipsey's murder. But when Blacc Sam, if you watch the interview, and I definitely recommend you watch the full interview, but there's a part of the interview where he says certain people were mad that Nipsey brought DJ Khaled to the hood to do a video. Why would you be mad because Nip brought DJ Khaled to the hood to do a video? That makes no sense. I don't know at the time they said Big U and Nip weren't seeing eye to eye, whatever, and also they weren't seeing eye to eye with DJ Khaled and things like that. So maybe that was the reason. And if you go ahead and watch Big U's live, he's like, why would I do that to my brother? Why would I do that to somebody that I love? And I'm like, at the end of the day, you and Nip weren't on the same accord at the time. Now, could Eric Holder have done this on his own? Maybe, because people did say that Nip said that we don't allow snitches here, and maybe he was just upset and it was just a random thing. But if it was a random thing and they got into it, wouldn't somebody have tightened up? Wouldn't somebody from the store had tightened up and said, hey, I don't really feel good about this whole situation? Because, like I said earlier, when Nip comes to the store, Blacc Sam is usually there. Somebody's there with a gun. Somebody's usually there with protection for Nip. Because Nip is like the president. He's like the undeclared president of Crenshaw. And you want to protect that. And people have been saying this for a long time about this whole Nipsey Hussle situation. Like this situation was kind of weird. Like on March 31st, at this particular time, he shows up to the store because it's his store. He can do whatever he wants. But this particular day, he gets assassinated. And for Blacc Sam to even talk about stuff like this to me takes a lot of courage. And I want to know in the comments. I want people to actually discuss this in the comments. Do you think Blacc Sam has a point? You think Blacc Sam has a point about this being a setup? And if it wasn't Big U, it could have been somebody else. It could have been somebody else that sent them. Or it could have been a lone wolf. We don't know. And if you watch the interview, Blacc Sam said, well, he's been convicted, all these things, I could talk about it. And there were people in the comments talking about you shouldn't talk about gang politics and all this. But this was 5 years ago. Blacc Sam has a right to talk about this, get it off his chest, and talk about it. He's not getting anything off of this. He's just talking about losing a brother, losing somebody that they shared the same room together. They were thick as thieves, and he misses his brother to this day. Even though he's carrying on the business, he's making sure that the marathon continues. At the end of the day, you still lost your brother. I lost my brother back in 2005, and that's almost, 20 years ago? And I still can't get over it. Imagine Blacc Sam going through this, and the night before, the last time you saw your brother was the night before they had a dinner or whatever. They were having they had a long conversation before Blacc Sam went his way and Nipsey went his way. And that's the last time you talk to your brother. Think about that. Think about that. This interview really, really opened my eyes to some things. First of all, people don't care who you are. They don't care if you're a great person. They don't care if you're doing things good for the hood. When people are jealous and people aren't getting their fair share, they're going to take you out. And the sad part is, I'm a big Nip fan. And when Nip passed away, it really hurt me. Because I'm like, yo, this guy was doing so much for the community. He was bringing jobs back. And for this man to get snubbed out is sad, though. But what do you think? Do you think Blacc Sam has a point? And do you think Big U has something to do with this? Because at the end of the day, it looks suspicious that you go on live and you talk about the situation. If you didn't have anything to talk about, you could just say, if you Big U, I ain't got nothing to do with it. That was my brother. I miss my brother, blah, 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 and just move on. But for you to drag it on and keep dragging it on makes you think, did you have something to do with it? We don't know. But hey, let's get the conversation started on that. Now we're going to talk about Andrew Tate, man. Andrew Tate and Candace Owens. Candace Owens had Andrew Tate on her show, and they talked about a lot of things. They talked about the elections in the United States. They talked about the French president. They talked about the deep state. They talked about a lot of stuff, man. And I'm going to tell you one thing about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate for people that are calling Andrew Tate stupid, Andrew Tate's not stupid. He may have some outlandish thoughts, but he's not stupid. See, a lot of people don't understand when people are intelligent or people think different from other people, the first thing they'll say is they're dumb. They're stupid. You know, the liberals will say, oh, he's stupid. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The deep state, all these different things. And they say the same thing about Candace Owens. Now, do I agree with everything that Candace Owens does? No, I don't agree with everything Candace Owens does, because at the end of the day, you're not going to agree with it. And I would also recommend you go watch her Breakfast Club interview. Like I said earlier, go see the Breakfast Club interview. Great interview. She really talked about how she became a Black conservative and how Black conservatives were usually shunned and outcast and things like that. And basically, Charlemagne was he wasn't being an a-hole. He was being observing and letting her talk and all that. Salute to them for the interview. There was a segment of the interview that I really want to dig into, because it's about, like, when you have thoughts, you have a different thought process from other people. You tend to be layered an outcast. You tend to be layered weird. You tend to be layered this and that, because at the end of the day, you can't think different of other people. You can't think different. Now, this is from the Candace Owens, Andrew Tate interview, and I'm not going to play a lot of it, but I'm going to play a certain clip, and I want to, as they're talking, I want to give my perspective, and then we're going to hop back and we're going to conclude this video. So let's get to this part right here. This is Candace Owens and Andrew Tate talking.
So desperate to conform. You know, I came to this unfortunate realization recently, especially in light of the Kamala garbage. There's a whole bunch of people who want to be slaves. They literally want to be. You sit and say, why can't you convince people to see the truth? And then you realize it's because they don't want to see the truth. They want to be a slave because it makes them feel the same way a child feels when they get attention from their parents. They want.
Now, when he's talking about slave, he's not talking about slave as far as like you being a slave in the 1800s type slave. He's talking about a slave to a narrative. Because a lot of people, what happens is when you're talking about certain terms, people get really offended because people don't do their research. I tell people all the time, do your research. If you want to vote for Kamala Harris, do your research. If you want to vote for Donald Trump, do your research. But people are slaves to their cell phones. They're slaves to the internet. They're slaves to just an ideology that's been taught to them since they were kids. And as you get older, you tend to realize you don't need to be a slave to this. And when you tend to talk different about certain issues and you have a different perspective, they call you weird. They call you stupid. Let's continue.
Want to be good slaves to the system, and they hope that that will prevent them from getting shot. Now, we know our history. It means they'll get shot last, but they'll still get shot.
Right.
So you have to make a decision as a man, especially, like, do I want to die first like a hero for telling the truth, or do I want to die a few years later like a coward? And I guess that's where you see the differentiation in the opinions, the dichotomy of the different types of men who are living in the world today. But it's really crazy that so many people will sit there and consistently consume lies and garbage after they've been lied to so many times, and they feel like they get some kind of, I don't know if it's satisfaction, I don't know if it's warmth, I don't know what they feel in their heart when they just subjugate themselves to these people.
And see, this is what happens when you watch the news, because I tell people all the time, the news is ran by corporations. And corporations, and see, people talk about how bad, how bad North Korea is, and it's a state-ran news, and Russia's a state-ran news, and they only tell people what they want to hear. I mean, they only tell people not what they want to hear, but they tell people what the state wants to hear. The only difference between Russia, North Korea, state-ran news, and news ran in America is that the state doesn't run the news. The corporations run the news. Think about it. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC. The free press isn't free no more. If you think about it, the corporations run the news. This is why when you watch stuff like CNN and MSNBC, they're pro-Kamala and anti-Trump. When you watch Fox News, it's anti-Kamala, pro-Trump. It's ran by a corporation. If a corporation loves a particular candidate, they're going to run the other candidate into the ground. And people, they don't look at it. This is why I tell people, do your research. Do your research. Let's continue.
Maybe it's like cuckdom. They like to feel like a cuck. They like to feel stupid. There's no other way. There's a whole bunch of people who want to be enslaved to these systems.
I think slavery is natural, actually. I thought about this for a long time because I'm going, how could you accept this? Like somebody telling you to stay at home, not see your family, double mask, let your parents die alone. Yep. Everything spiritually should be coming online going, this is not natural, this is wrong, and I'm going to fight this. But they get in line. And even when they know it's wrong, they're still fearful to speak out and say that for fear of persecution. And something that a study that I showed, like a study that was done by the CIA, an experiment rather, to my audience was where they sat a bunch of people in a room. This is a true CIA experiment. And 17 of them were agents, and one of them was from the public, but he didn't know that he was the only person that wasn't an agent.
Yep.
And they held up a picture of a triangle, and they went around the room, and they said, what do you see? And every agent, went through them first, and they said, square, 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 square. It was clearly a triangle. Square, 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 square. They get to that last guy, and he says, square. No.
Yeah. You hear that? You hear that? And see, this is the issue that people have. People don't think for themselves. If you believe something is different than what other people think. Me and my cousin, we had a conversation. And we were talking about how people, they tend to just stay with the status quo. And if you know something is wrong, you don't want to buck the system, because if you buck the system, you're going to get in trouble for it. Now, the whole square and circle situation, whatever that she's talking about, that's what people do. It's called peer pressure. And when you're under peer pressure, you're going to go with what everybody else says. Oh, if I'm in a room full, let's say your favorite football team is the Steelers, and you're in a room full of Ravens fans, and you come into that bar, it's a Ravens bar, and it's a Ravens bar. You come in there and you're like, oh shit, like damn, I got Steelers. I'm a Steelers fan, but I can't be rooting against my Rooster Ravens because I'm a Steelers fan. It is what it is. But if you're a Steelers fan, be a Steelers fan and be a proud Steelers fan. Don't worry about if you're in a room full of Ravens fans. Let's continue.
Fully that he is seeing a triangle.
Yep.
So what they understand is that peer pressure, like the psychology of peer pressure, is a real thing, but it's stunning to me that grown men succumb to this, or something that's unbelievably wrong about that.
Yeah, completely. And that's why they attack masculinity so heavily, because truthfully, as a man, if you have an opinion which is different to other men, it crosses your mind, you might have to fight. That's just how it goes, right? So if you're a man and you sit in that room and 17 men say it's a square and it's a triangle, you're probably looking them up and down going, can I beat them all? Now me, I'm built different. I'll be like, that is a triangle, sir. You're wrong. But you have to have a lot of faith in yourself to be able to do that, right? A lot of people simply don't speak out because it's a scary thing to do, because now you have personal accountability and then you have to defend your opinions also. And there's a lot of people who aren't capable of or are afraid to defend their opinions. So they just.
That's true. A lot of people aren't capable of defending their opinion. It's not that you don't want to defend your opinion. You don't have the ability to do it because you may not know how to talk about why is that a square, or why that's a triangle, whatever. Because if you think different, you have to back it up. And you have to convince all these other people that your opinion is the right opinion. And people just don't have that mental capacity no more. This is why I always tell people about how smartphones and the internet and people just staying on their cell phones and not communicating with people has really, really turned the country into a state of just people not talking and not even having discussions. I remember back when I was a kid and we would sit on a corner and we would disagree about things like, oh, he ain't right, or she ain't right, or that ain't right. But we would have an open discussion about it. And even if I was wrong, at least I got my point across, and you have to prove to me that my point was wrong. But people don't even have that in their arsenal no more. People don't even talk no more. I remember having a discussion with a couple of guys, and they told me for sure that my opinion, the thing that I talked about was wrong. And I looked at them like, how you gonna tell me? I said, I'm a grown man. Blah, 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 blah. They said, man, you wrong. I'm like, nah, we went back and forth for like 45 minutes. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to walk away from this. I'm not going to believe what you said. You may not believe what I said, but I'm going to stand on business. Like my man, like King Harrison, I'm going to stand on business. And they respected it. Let's continue.
Think I'll just go with the flow. And that's the actual mess we're in. I don't think the mess is so much conservatives against liberals or the sane against the insane. It's this ether in between of people who are just like, it doesn't matter, and I'm not interested in politics, and they're just going along with the system, which is probably the largest contingent of the populace. And they're just allowing this clown show to continue for as long as it's continued. And I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but ever since 2020, I don't believe any of the elections are fair at all. I don't believe that any of the people in charge have our interests at heart at all. I believe it's a massive racket where everyone is just stealing. I believe if you speak against the system, the Matrix is going to come and they're going to use lawfare to try and destroy you. I said on a podcast I did 7 days before Trump's assassination attempt that there's no way they're going to let him win. Then his assassination attempt happened. Thank God he survived it. That was a miracle in and of itself. That's been memory hold now. That's been disappeared from the internet. Don't know if you saw this morning. All of the references between Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein have been removed from Bill Clinton's Wikipedia page.
Yeah, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole because I mean that's a big rabbit hole about Jerry Epstein, and they talk about the whole pedophilia and all that stuff. I'm not gonna get into that. But like he said, you know, if you go against the system or if you buck against the system, you will definitely be a target. And I think Andrew Tate's a target. Do I think he's guilty for what he did? We don't know. And we may never know because he hasn't been put on full trial yet. He has other things going on with him. But I recommend that you watch the whole interview because they dive into a lot of different topics. Now, in conclusion, do I think that the government has something to do with certain things? Yes, because at the end of the day, they don't want you to know the real truth about things. You know, I went back and I looked at the different files, went back and looked at different documentaries about the JFK assassination, about the Martin Luther King assassination, all these different things that are going on. And, you know, people don't want you to know the truth. This is why I tell people, do your research. Do your research. When you're voting for a candidate, I don't care if it's president, I don't care if it's a congressman, I don't care if it's a governor, I don't care if it's a mayor, I don't care if it's a city sheriff. Do your due diligence on that candidate because your vote matters. See, people don't think their vote matters, but your vote matters because if you don't vote, you know what you do? The other party gets that vote. Because if you don't vote, the other party gets it. And in conclusion, I want to know from you folks. Do you think Andrew Tate has a point when he says that the government wants to control people? I mean, let me know. Let me know in the comments about this whole situation because that interview was damning, but it was also like, okay, this can really happen. And this is why I do things like this, why I do shows like this. You know, who'd have thought KeKe Palmer and Blacc Sam and Andrew Tate will all be on the same show? But hey, I wanted to talk about it. This is my thoughts exactly. Everything you hear is my thoughts exactly. Let's get the discussion started. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like the show? Hit that like button. Also hit the subscribe button. Momo road to 100,000 subscribers. Got to get that play button. You know what I'm saying? It's your boy Jay the Reactor. Videos uploaded daily for the content. Until next time, folks, I'm out.